Model 3 is one of Tesla's most significant cars, and here we look at the top performance version, which in its updated form gets a smarter look, an upgraded interior and considerably sharper handling. If your mid-sized executive EV saloon needs to be seriously sporting, then it's a car you can't ignore. Tesla has brought us a more serious kind of Model 3 performance. Here, we're going to test it. You might find it quite a new experience, trying a full EV that can really handle. Other zero-emission battery models, including larger Teslas, go very fast when you stamp down your right foot and manage not to lurch about too much through the bends because of the low-down centrally mounted placement of their battery packs. But as for cornering finesse, well, forget it. There's a reason why most volume EVs designed to date have been either compact hatches or SUVs, market segments full of buyers with little enthusiasm for throwing their cars about. Few of the brands involved have yet dared to make an EV sports saloon, but Tesla's been selling one since 2018. This car, the Model 3 Performance. 6 years on, this design was updated to create the car we look at here. The US brand is largely run by visionaries who seem to prefer a future in which their owners aren't imposed upon to actually drive their cars at all, as the company continues its relentless pursuit of autonomous driving technology. Yet Elon Musk and his team clearly like a challenge, especially one so clearly shirked by the established brands who can no longer ignore the threat this Californian automaker poses. So, heads were hunted, test tracks were pounded and budgets broken in order to create the kind of Model 3 that would make competitors and their buyers sit up and take notice. This performance version is that car. To find out more, you're going to need the usual comprehensive car and driving road test. Quite a lot's different with this updated Model 3 Performance, which now produces 453 brake horsepower. There's a more performance-tuned chassis with increased stiffness for improved handling. Tesla has also added upgraded stabilizer bars, springs and bushings. For the first time in a Model 3, there's also adaptive damping, and the added carbon fiber rear spoiler is supposed to optimize lift balance and high-speed stability. This top all-wheel drive performance derivative shares the surprisingly sharp handling of more standard Model 3 variants, and more positives are accrued by the impressively well-modulated throttle, though it's still prone to lurch the car forward like a startled rabbit if used without due care. If you were to mash it into the bulkhead of this top performance spec variant, having activated the aptly named insane driving mode, you'd reach 60 miles an hour in just 2.9 seconds en route to 163 miles an hour. Think M3s and C63s, or just see this Tesla as Ferrari fast. This performance derivative is further embellished by larger 20-inch wheels shod with bespoke tyres and Brembo competition-style brakes, though the pedal feel that you get from them doesn't feel entirely natural. Also significant is the inclusion of an improved latest generation version of the company's track mode system, which allows the driver to customize stability levels, handling balance and regenerative braking. Track mode activates a kind of torque vectoring setup that shuttles torque between front and rear axles to offer either more or less cornering rotation as needed. That works well, so it's disappointing that there's not really enough steering feel to give you the confidence to really exploit it, even if you take up the provided screen option of adding weight to the steering. Track mode also works with what the brand calls a vehicle dynamics controller that eases back the normally quite intrusive traction and stability control systems so that they allow more slip. So much so, in fact, that pro driver circuit corner drifting is even possible. This kind of driving can be rough on the car's cooling system, so track mode recalibrates that to cool the car more aggressively and proactively. For this updated Model 3, Tesla has engineered in a dramatic increase in regenerative braking to capture extra energy more efficiently, aiding a range figure rated at 328 miles. The Model 3 was updated for the 2024 production year with sleeker exterior design, which sees sharper body lines and aero-optimized surfaces, reducing drag, improving wind noise and increasing range. As with the previous Model 3 performance though, you'd really have to know your Teslas to be able to differentiate this top version from an ordinary dual motor variant. These dark forged aluminium 20-inch warp design wheels are a good indicator though, fitted with summer performance tyres and track-ready brakes with high-performance pads and red calipers. The front and rear wheels have staggered widths too, like a BMW M3 or a Porsche 911. At the front, the bumper's bespoke to this performance variant, as are the cooling ducts, with these unique angled slits at either corner and a purpose-designed dark lower intake. Like all the updated Model 3s with the brand's improved Highland design package, this one's headlamps have been completely restyled, incorporating these slim daytime running light strips. And these frowning headlights are now powerful enough to mean that there's no need for the separate front fog lamps that were previously fitted. At the rear, there's another bumper unique to the performance model and a carbon fibre spoiler too. Surprisingly, Tesla has elected not to carry forward the Plaid branding from its fastest Model S and Model X EVs, but confusingly has nonetheless attached a Plaid badge here at the tail. Right, time to check out the cabin. A little disappointingly, the door handles are conventional rather than popping out to greet you as they do with larger Teslas. As before, the brand seems determined to make owners operate the car using their provided app. Now, once that's been downloaded onto your phone, you can unlock the car and have it ready to drive via your handset. Without the app in operation, you've got to faff about with this easily mislaid RFID card and try and place it on this B-pillar touch sensor, which is difficult to locate in the day and almost impossible to find at night. Other way to operate the door, you press on the larger part of the door release. Inside, you'll still find it all a bit plain if you're expecting the kind of cabin embellishment you'd get from a rival European high-performance sub-brand. Apart from a bit of extra carbon fibre detailing with a unique Tesla weave pattern, the only real indication that you're in the top performance model is this logo just under the jutting headrest of these front sports seats. They've been redesigned as part of this update with enhanced side cushions and side bolsters, which hold you in a bit better through the bends. These chairs can be heated and ventilated too. Otherwise, as much as in any other Model 3, the updated one anyway, which goes without indicator and gear shift steering wheel stalks, which as on the ordinary version of this car is a terrible change for the worse. The replacement wheel spoke indicator buttons are difficult to operate on roundabouts, and the right-hand screen icon that you have to swipe to activate forward or rearward motion is endlessly fiddly to use. At least interior ambience has taken a noticeable step forwards towards premiumness. The old Model 3 Performance felt a bit cheap compared to most of its segment rivals. Now it doesn't. That's thanks to upgraded materials, real aluminium textiles and so on, and customizable ambient lighting wrapping around the full cabin, though Tesla's missed a trick in not making it active. With rivals, similar lighting strips change colour or flash to warn you of things like safety system activation or incoming phone calls. What else? Well, as part of the Highland update, there's a redesigned centre console with dual wireless phone chargers, and Tesla has installed a new studio quality next generation audio system with 17 speakers. As before, it's certainly very airy inside thanks to an uncovered sunroof at the front and a rear window that stretches up into the roof. That gives excellent rearward visibility too. You'll have to adjust to the way that the driving position sits you a little higher than the mid-sized saloon segment norm, but the lack of a central transmission tunnel frees up a load of space for useful extra stowage compartments. As before, all the key controls lie on this enormous, super bright and responsive 15.4-inch landscape-orientated central touchscreen, including the climate functions, the lights, and, potentially more dangerously, the wipers. This monitor now has more usable screen area thanks to a thinner bezel, but otherwise is much as before, featuring customizable UI and getting better over time with over-the-air updates. There's the brand's familiar, curious insistence on displaying the usual driving instruments on the nearer third of this screen. And with this revised model, as referenced earlier, those instruments now include a right-hand side vertical touch strip to operate forward and reverse motion. As previously, the main part of the monitor has a superb Google Earth navigation system, plus all the usual infotainment stuff and even arcade games. Right, time to take a look in the back. A relatively long wheelbase by class standards should help here. At first glance here, all seems good. There's certainly much more space than you'd get in a combustion engine model of this sort. Take a seat though, and you find that, as usual with a Model 3 and as usual with an EV, there's a raised floor matched with low set seats. The result being that you sit with your knees slightly higher than they would normally be. Once you adjust to this, you'll find that legroom isn't bad. One 6-footer can just about sit behind another, thanks in part to these scalloped seat backs. Though the fact that you can't slide your feet under the seat in front is something of a limiting factor. If you're seated behind the front passenger seat and there's no occupant in front, your legroom can be vastly improved because you can move forward said front chair using this center screen. This 8-inch display, a freshly added feature for this revised model. This neat little monitor also alters fan speed, media sources, audio volume, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Plus, you can play games on it, and Tesla will improve it with over-the-air updates, just like the front screen. You get twin USB-C ports below the central vent. There are overhead reading lights, little coat hooks, decently sized flock-lined door bins, but you don't get a central armrest or seat back pockets. Finally, let's take a look at the boot, or one of them anyway. Because there's no need for an engine up front, a frunk compartment sits in the nose. We'll get to that once we've seen what's on offer back here, which looks like a tailgate, but isn't. In some ways, this setup is preferable to that, thanks to an ingenious hinged arrangement that sees the boot lid opening particularly widely with this standard powered operation and leaving a particularly low access lip. Unfortunately, rainwater flows into the boot from around the seals when it's wet. The capacity on offer here is 425 litres and it's a good square usable space. Buggies and golf bags will easily fit, and there are recessed areas on both sides, plus a deep well under the cargo base for the charging leads that could also take other small items that you might not want sliding around the boot floor. We'll finish with a look at the frunk, the fruit, or whatever you want to call it, up front in the nose. Like the one in the Model S, it can't quite swallow suitcases, but its 117 litre capacity is probably good for a couple of small, squashy bags. As we filmed in autumn 2024, the top performance Model 3 derivative was costing around £60,000, which is a significant sum, but represents a useful saving on the rival quite a few customers might be looking at, the top M50 version of BMW's i4 or the GT version of Ford's Mustang Mach-E. Other potential alternatives include the top dual motor version of the Polestar 2, the Kia EV6 GT and the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. All of these are tough rivals, but in this Tesla they face a formidable competitor. We mentioned a few of the specific performance spec additions in our design section. In addition to those, you'll obviously get all the equipment features that you'd find on an ordinary top spec Model 3. These include enhancements like the new customizable ambient lighting system, the ventilated front seats, the 2-phone wireless charging station, and the smart 8-inch rear seat climate display screen. Media connectivity, well, that's been improved too, with dual band Wi-Fi capability, 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. Then there's the new Tesla designed premium audio system. It features 17 speakers, dual subwoofers and dual amplifiers. It includes native support for Spotify, Apple Music and Tidal. Additional and more capable microphones deliver improved call quality too. There are also 2 rear USB-C charging ports, each with up to 65 watts of power. You'll be able to seamlessly connect it all with Bluetooth to sync everything from your contacts to your music. The 15.4-inch center screen takes software downloads from Tesla every few weeks once you've approved the same via your ownership app, which means that, as with other Teslas, you'll get into your car one morning and find that it can do something that it couldn't do yesterday, which is rather cool. The navigation mapping is by Google Maps, so traffic mapping is very interactive. All of this does mean, though, that as soon as you want to change something, you have to delve around in menus and sub-menus to do it, which requires intimate familiarity with the way the monitor works. This isn't one of those cars that you can just get in, drive and use to the full without a second thought. We normally finish this section of these reviews by talking about safety. As this car's 5-star rating from Euro NCAP suggests, all the passive stuff's well covered. And like all Model 3s and all Teslas, this performance model gets the basic version of the brand's autopilot system, which uses 8 cameras, 12 ultrasonic sensors and a forward-facing radar. These all combine to deliver an impressive roster of features. There's autonomous braking, of course, courtesy of what Tesla calls its forward collision warning and automatic emergency brake systems. And as you'd expect on a car of this price, there's a blind spot collision feature to stop you from pulling out when there's a vehicle in your blind spot. This works via a red indicator in the upper speaker grille in each front corner of the cockpit. Auto-dipping headlamps, they come as standard too. But Tesla's gone further than that. The thing we all love about electric cars is the instant acceleration they give. But that can get you into a lot of trouble if you hit the accelerator too hard when, say, you're in a traffic jam or when parking. An obstacle-aware acceleration feature aims to take care of that for you. If your Tesla senses that there's something like a car or a building or a wall in front of you, it will limit your acceleration if you accidentally tap on the accelerator too hard or confuse the brake pedal with the accelerator, so enabling you to avoid an expensive collision. And there's more. Emergency lane departure avoidance will automatically steer your car back into its lane if the software thinks that you're about to crash or veer off the road. Then there's lane departure avoidance, a system that was first introduced in the US to combat situations where Tesla drivers were engaging the car's traffic-aware cruise control, then moving lanes on the highway without turn signals and without hands on the steering wheel. Now, lane departure avoidance will admonish you for this, and if you keep on doing it, then the system will eventually turn on your hazard lights and automatically slow down the car to 15 miles below either the speed limit or your current set speed. This feature can be turned on or off at will, and it works between speeds of 25 and 90 miles an hour. If you want more, then you'll need to invest another £3,400 in the enhanced autopilot option Tesla offers. You get what the brand calls full self-driving capability as part of this, with, initially, 2 key features. First, your Model 3 will navigate using the autopilot system, which will give you automatic driving from motorway on-ramp to off-ramp, including interchanges and overtaking slower cars. Second, there's an auto lane change feature that gives you automatic motorway lane changes. You just flick the indicator stalk in the direction that you want to go, and once the camera system's giving you the all clear, then you're automatically steered over into the next lane. Buy into the enhanced autopilot package, and in the near future, over-the-air updates will add to it further clever features. You'll get an auto park system that'll help you identify a parallel or perpendicular space, then steer your Tesla into it, and a summon feature that'll allow you to park your car using your smartphone while standing outside it, as you might want to do if, say, you're trying to get it into a really narrow space. If you really want to blow the budget on futuristic drive techs, Tesla will also sell you its full self-driving capability package for a cool extra spend of, wait for it, £6,800. As we filmed, all that considerable spend delivered was a traffic light and stop sign control feature. But for the future, UK legislation permitting, if your Model 3 has been fitted with this top package, Tesla will add to it further functionality that will give your car a degree of automatic driving capability on city streets. You may also be able to add the brand's enhanced summon feature, which will allow your Model 3 to come and find you in a car park if you're a few rows away and can't find it. Brilliant. This performance variant manages a 328-mile WLTP rated driving range reading from its 75 kilowatt-hour battery, a figure 62 miles less than the alternative long-range dual-motor model. This figure is aided in this revised design by improved aerodynamics and range-optimized tyres. The car responds best to nightly recharges, but will happily sit a couple of weeks at an airport while you holiday without losing significant charge, though over longer stationary periods these cells will slowly lose their charge. All dual-motor Model 3 variants charge at up to 250 kilowatts, which means a 10 to 80% charge takes 27 minutes. As before, a major selling point lies with the Tesla supercharger network, which now features over 1,000 charging points spread across over 100 locations throughout the UK. Charging from home using a 7.4 kilowatt wall box from empty to full takes 12 hours. Owning a Model 3 is of course very different from owning a conventionally powered executive saloon. There's no fuel bill and service is minimal. The annual service fee covers an annual inspection, replacement parts like brake pads and windscreen wipers, 24-hour roadside assistance, system monitoring, remote diagnostics, software updates, and new features sent through the touchscreen. It's possible to charge the battery halfway in about 30 minutes using Tesla's supercharger, but as with most elements of this car, it requires a change in your way of thinking. As with other EVs, you'll make big savings in terms of your tax, VED, and maintenance liabilities. If you want a mid-sized EV performance saloon that shouts its high-speed credentials from the rooftops, then this isn't it. But that subtlety might well be part of the appeal of this ultimate Model 3. Get this Tesla in this top performance form and you have to take quite a hit in terms of EV driving range, but in return you get substantial improvements in handling, sharpness, and the adaptive damping system that we've always wished a Model 3 could have. Those adaptive springs are the main improvement with this updated Model 3 performance, but there are also others. The cabin looks a bit smarter with its carbon fibre additions, and the grippy sport seats are a welcome upgrade. As before, you'd have to like the cool pared back image of this Model 3 to want one and be forgiving of a few idiosyncrasies. But if none of that matters, then you'll find that what's on offer here is as significant as it's ambitious.